So let's take a look over the details of the Games Workshop price increases, what's going up, and by how much. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today I thought I'd check back in on the Games Workshop price increases. Now it seems that we've got a lot more details as to what's going up and by exactly how much. A couple of weeks back, Games Workshop basically announced that these price rises are going to be happening on the 10th of June. It's not really the most unexpected thing in the world, seeing as they do this basically every year. The reason that they give is usually to keep up with inflation, which admittedly has been kind of high around the world. And if they do indeed do a 4% price rise, as they seem to be hinting at, it's probably going to be more sort of in line with inflation rather than above it. Obviously, price rises never make anyone particularly happy though. And Warhammer miniatures often attract a lot of criticism when they go up in cost, given that their price is just so arbitrary to start with. Games Workshop definitely has its costs from designing and running molds, and all its logistics, shops and supply chains and things, though when they have those things worked out, the amount that they make on any single one kit is kind of astronomical, and they have been posting some pretty crazy profits over the past few years. Between all that, it is a bit of a decision from them, and if they wanted to, they could charge a bit less and still do very well. As mentioned, it seems that Games Workshop teased the price rise to be around about 3 to 5%. Certain countries like Sweden and Norway apparently getting an excess price rise, going more like 8 to 14%, I think due to currency conversion things there. Obviously not good if you live there though. Previously they gave us Necron Warriors as an example, going up from $48 to $50, £30 to £31.50, or €40 to €41, so around about 2.5 to 5% there. But now it seems that we have the rest of the numbers as well. Various lists from different retailers have leaks, plus they've posted a whole load of online-only things that you can infer quite a lot of the other changes. It basically means we know pretty much what the entirety of the core 40k range is going to be going up by. It seems that it's not literally everything. White Dwarf magazines, paint pots and sets, and Black Library books don't seem to be going up. And at least from early impressions, it seems like Forge World things and Codexes might be staying at the same cost, so at least a few things are mercifully excluded. For actually using the knowledge of price rises early. If you do regularly buy Games Workshop's things, the only big mistake that you could do is placing a massive order just after the 10th of June or sometime within that month. If you absolutely know that you're getting something, then do so before then. But I certainly wouldn't use it as any sort of fear of missing out to buy things that you otherwise wouldn't. As ever, if you were looking to pick up any 40k things, I do have the various discount links down in the video description for 10% to 20% off depending on where you are around the world. So better than buying through the Games Workshop web store there at least. These guys all do have other things besides Games Workshop of course, plenty of cool miniatures from other companies. And of course the common talking point in this day and age is that every time Games Workshop puts up prices, 3D printers look a bit better by comparison, if you've got time, space and safety to run one. Focusing on the shiny plastic kits though, let's go through a few of the common price points that Games Workshop has to offer. The way they generally seem to work is that multiple kits have a similar sort of price point, and then when they put things up, they move from one price point to the next. So it means that if one kit has a similar price, the majority of things are going to go up to the next boosted price, whether they happen to be a character miniature, a squad or a vehicle, if they were originally costing the same. Perhaps one of the most headline changes are the Combat Patrol box sets. The common Warhammer 40k discount box sets, so are pretty important for new hobbyists starting out. Though in 10th edition they do seem to have been going through a phase of making all of them a bit worse. In the UK it looks like these will be increasing from £95 to £100, in euros €125 to €130, and in the USA things are going up from £160 to £168. Looks like these might be on the slightly higher end of the price rises, given that they're about 5% to 4% going up here. Might mean that these are just a fractionally worse deal than they used to be versus the rest of the range in the UK and USA. They're probably kind of similar in the EU. Overall though, broadly in line with what they said. Otherwise, looking through a few more Warhammer 40k common kits, one of the most common price points that Games Workshop has are things like a standard box of Space Marines, 10 Intercessors, 10 Hellblasters, 5 Sisters of Battle Seraphim, 5 Attilan Rough Riders for the Astra Militarum, 3 Kroot Rampagers, or 3 Scorpec Destroyers, or 3 World Eaters 8-bound. All of these were previously €37.50, €50, or $60, and again it looks like the increases are a bit scattergun. The UK gets hit the hardest, going up to £40 on these, so a big almost 7% increase there. Euros are going up 2.5%, up to €51.25, and the US prices are going up by about 4% to $62.50. A bit worse for the UK overall there, though given the way that prices are distributed anyway, the UK is still going to be the best deal for picking up Warhammer versus Euros or the USA. For an example of a slightly cheaper, less elite squad, there's a price point at £32.50 for 10 Skitari, 10 Jeans to the Colt Neophyte hybrids, the Vespid Stingwings, or the Guard Field Ordnance Battery. In the UK, they're going up to £34. In euros, it's €42.50 to €44, and in the US, it's $55 to $58. So this one may be slightly on the lower end of what they were saying before. Then if we go up the other end of the spectrum and start looking at some bigger models, there's a medium-sized vehicle price point, which includes things like the Redemptor Dreadnought, the Landspeeder Vengeance, the Chaos Warpforged with the Obliterators plus Venom Crawler, the Plague Burst Crawler, or Ghazghkull Thraka. Looks like these guys are going up from £45 to €47.50, €60 to €62.50, or $75 to $79. This one being a little bit higher on the price spectrum here, around about 4% to 5.5%. Getting bigger and pricier, next up we have the Gladiator tank, which I must admit I feel like is quite a pricey kit for what you get already. £55, €70 or $90, and it's a price point shared by the Sister Battle Exorcist, the Crimson Hunter for the Eldar, the Tau Ghostkill, or the bigger Repulsor tank. In the UK it's going up £2 or 3.6%, in euros €2.50 or again 3.6% there, and the US gets away with a slightly smaller price rise on these ones, going up to $92 or 2.2%. Interestingly though, I did notice one little bit of crafty things that Games Workshop had done here. Previously, the Armigers box and the Chaos Knights War Dogs were at this same price point, but they seem to have sneaked up the price on these guys just a little bit more. They're going up to £57.50, €75 or $94.50. A bit of a shame for them to get an excess increase, given that they're kind of integral kits for their factions, plus just as they go, they're relatively good value as Games Workshop vehicles go. Medium walkers with a fair bit of threat for around $45 was kind of nice, particularly when other vehicles like Gladiators or Exorcists might be costing you double that. Maybe they thought they could get away with charging a bit more for them as a result. For bigger models still, we have the Norn Emissary. This one's price is shared by the Riptide, the Sisters Triumph of St. Catherine, or the Leagues of Votan Hecaton Land Fortress. These ones seem to be going up from £70 to £74, €90 to €93, and $115 to $118. The USA doing slightly better on the comparison versus the other two there. And then for a big bad super heavy kit, we've got the Questoris Imperial Knight. This one's going up from £105 to £110, €140 to €145, or $170 to $178. Again, it does broadly seem to be between the 3 to 5% that they were suggesting. Finally, for the things that actually went up, let's take a look at character pricing. I do always feel like Games Workshop characters are very pricey for what they are, usually due to being just particularly interesting sculpts for individual models. They seem to get away with charging somewhere like 3 to 5 times the price of equivalent infantry models. Some of them are maybe a bit easier to convert than others. In any case, for cheaper characters, one price point is this one, for things like the Firstborn Chaplain that they still sell, the Astra Militarum Commissar, the Standard Primaris Lieutenant, or the Necron Psychomancer. These are going up from £22.50 to £24, €30 to £31.50, or $35 to $37. These ones seem to have landed themselves an outsized price increase there of 5% or more. Not particularly great news for them there. I feel like the Commissar's price in particular is kind of ludicrous. You can really easily kit bash him from other parts, say from command squads or things. Otherwise, for bigger and chunkier characters, this is a fairly common price point for maybe standard faction leader HQs, things like the Death Guard Lord of Virulence, the Space Marine Gravis Captain, the Thousand Suns Infernal Master, the Votan Karl, or the Tyranids Neurolictor. These will go up from £25 to £26, so plus 4% there, €32.50 to $34, or $40 to $42, that one being a price increase around about 4 to 5%. Finally, for characters, we've got the Epic Heroes. In general, they seem to charge a small tax above their more core character price, just if the character happens to have a name to it. A lot of these are kind of fun, but again, it kind of shows just how arbitrary the pricing model is, really. Examples of this price point are Lee of Hesperax, Typhus, Chief Librarian Targerius, or Mephiston. And from the leak list at the moment, it looks like these are actually unchanged in a couple of places. In the UK, it seems like a small increase from £27.50 to £28. It seems like they might be remaining steady in euros and the USA at €35 and $45 respectively. Otherwise, for another potential bit of good news, it looks like codexes seem like they're not going to be increasing. I'd still like to see absolute 100% confirmation on this one, but it looks like in the price list of increases, the codexes aren't featured, and so far I haven't seen any price increases on any lease lists from retailers across the world. If there's any information I'm not aware of at the moment, I'll try and post it down in a pinned comment, but it looks like the standard army books might at least be keeping at the same price point, even if a few of their other rule books do seem to be going up. Finally, Forge World, from the previews that they've given us so far, appears not to be going up for the most part. Taking a look at their direct-only pricing list, it seems that they're unchanged where they're mentioned on the UK and EU list, and they're absent from mention on the equivalent US lists, though those lists don't seem to encompass every single Forge World item. For example, the Great Big Titans don't appear to be there, but do confirm a whole bunch of things from the Forge World range do seem to be staying just the same. Lots of Lord of the Rings type stuff. Plenty of their Deathcore of Krieg range, and things like the Tau Manta, though to be fair it's not exactly going to make Forge World look affordable in any way, shape or form. It's still going to be massively more expensive than Games Workshop prices, even with them having gone up a few percent. In any case though, price rises are never great for already kind of expensive Warhammer models. Looking through the actual price rises, it does seem that the majority of things do seem to be within their 3 to 5% range, so I generally say that they've reported things pretty accurately there. A few things did go up higher, things like, say, UK cheaper characters at like 7%-ish, and a few things are on the upper end of that bracket, but it does seem that on the other end of the scale a few things have gone up by less than that amount, say the epic hero prices, which seem to have been staying the same or going up by just a tiny amount. Just taking a look at these numbers, it looks like maybe the average is a bit more, say 4 to 4.5%, as opposed to bang on 4, but I feel like they haven't been so understating things that it's deceptive. In any case, kind of useful to know what's going up by how much. Even if it's not exactly the biggest news story ever, they do this every year after all. As mentioned, it is kind of handy to have them give us a heads up as to what costs what. Perhaps the biggest takeaway being don't make a big order from Games Workshop or discount retailer or anything just after the 10th of June versus just before. I'd be interested to hear what your takes are down in the comments below though. As ever with price rises, there shall probably be enough to make the difference between some people staying in the game or leaving the hobby, which is a shame. I do think that perhaps one of the biggest criticisms of Games Workshop are their prices. It still seems likely that they'd be a very profitable company even if they put things down a little bit and allowed a few more people to get into the hobby with the shiny plastic kits, as at these kinds of prices it's just really not viable for some. For some wargamers, I'm sure it'll be the tipping point between sticking with Games Workshop or checking out other sources like 3D printing or third-party manufacturers. Look forward to hearing your thoughts though. Let me know what you have to say down in the comments below. Look forward to hearing all your thoughts and ideas as always. If you are looking to pick up anything before the price rises bite, I do have those local discount links down in the video description. It does help to support the channel, though obviously only use them for things that you were absolutely going to get anyway and you'd already made the decision, rather than rushing out to buy things that you otherwise might not. Otherwise, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more like this. I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming, with new ones out each day. I do tend to cover most of Games Workshop's news and releases. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help support and keep all of these coming. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.